So the moment that we were all waiting for finally came. After all this buildup, after 2 years of buildup, of reading this story that never seems to fucking go anywhere, Mueller testified in front of Congress. We're all waiting for this big climax, you know what I'm saying? We're all waiting for like this fucking moment where Trump gets impeached and he throws up the peace sign, he jumps on a helicopter and hops out of town. That's what we're waiting for. We want our Nixon moment. We're tired of the fucking anticlimactic buildup and the shit never goes anywhere. And so, this was the big hope. Was Mueller testifying in front of Congress was going to be like this big, it was going to be the movie version. This was the narrative that the Democrats were putting forth. This was going to be, the book version was already out. The Mueller report was out. That book that nobody read because fundamentally nobody gives a shit. This was going to be the movie version. So it was going to be more compelling, more digestible. The American audience was going to be enthralled by the story of how depraved Donald Trump was and how he helped the Russians or how he tried to obstruct justice, all this other bullshit, right? So it didn't happen. The problem was that the star of the movie gave a shitty performance. Mueller gave a terrible performance. And so that all the supporting cast members, try as they might, all these Congress people from the Democratic side of the aisle who tried to, have this rallying cry and paint this narrative of how Trump was potentially guilty of at least obstruction. They tried their damnedest to make this into a compelling thing to watch, and it just wasn't. Maybe it's just me, but I thought it was really fucking boring. The fact that they think that the American public, we're not going to read this 400-page book, but we are going to watch this old man sit in front of Congress for 6 hours and refuse to answer a single fucking question, and we're going to be enthralled by this, just goes to show that they're completely out of touch with the average person. But most people just can't be bothered with this shit. So I think it failed, really. I think it was a flop. And I think that there was some Democrats that made some points about how Trump was guilty, and there was some Republicans that made some good points about how Mueller was contradicting himself, or how maybe his credibility could be called into question. Honestly, I thought there was some decent moments that the Republicans had where I was like, damn, I didn't even think about that, and that actually sounds like a good point. So things like the guy that brought up the fact that Mueller was conflating collusion with conspiracy in the document. He said basically they're synonymous in terms of colloquial use, but that collusion is not a legal term. So he was going based on conspiracy, and then he contradicted this in his testimony, saying, no, they're not synonymous. And then the guy's like, well, if I point to this page in your book, you said they were. And he just didn't have a fucking... His answer was, I'll leave it to the report. That was his answer for fucking everything. Here was his answers in a nutshell. That's outside my purview. I'm not going to go there. I direct you to the report. Could you repeat that? That's outside my purview. I direct you to the report. That was him in a nutshell. And so the people who are trying to spin this as some sort of victory for the Democrats, I think, are delusional at this point. The problem here, they talk about, well, this we've never had everybody concedes that no new information was given out during this testimony. Like Colbert was arguing with Chris Wallace about this. He was saying, Chris Wallace was saying what I'm saying. It was boring. It was a dud. Mueller didn't look good. He didn't seem like he had it together. It didn't seem like he knew what he was talking about. It didn't even really seem like he wrote the fucking report, to be honest with you. And, and Colbert's like, well, you're giving performance critique, but the focus should be on the information. And Wallace was like, but the information was already out there. We already knew everything that they said. They didn't say anything new. And he was like, well, but it's never been laid out in such a, thorough and, compelling manner. And the problem with that is to the extent that it was laid out by the Democratic Congress people. with Mueller resisting every step of the fucking way, just not wanting to answer a single fucking question. Things that didn't even seem like, why wouldn't he answer that question? Didn't seem like privileged information or anything. He just would not even hint at whether he thought Trump should or could be impeached. I mean, he wouldn't hint in any direction whatsoever. He didn't want to be dragged into the political dogfight one way or the other, so he resisted questions from both sides of the aisle and basically said nothing, which, to be fair, he did tell us in advance that this is what he was going to do, that he was just going to stick to what was in the report, but he wouldn't even read from the report. He would say, well, you read it. I direct you to the report. You read the report. It was pointless for him to even be there. They could have had the same hearing without him there and accomplished the same amount of stuff. I mean, really, he didn't really contribute anything. And so, yeah, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to move the ball forward on impeachment. And the fact of the matter is the Democrats have just decided, a good portion of them have just decided, we want to impeach this guy. We just need to construct the narrative necessary in order to impeach him. It's already a foregone conclusion. This is all a formality. The fact that they're going through all this shit to be like, well, we want to see if impeachment is a course that we should pursue and yada yada yada, is all bullshit. They want to impeach him. They're just trying to construct a narrative to bring a significant enough portion of people along with them in order to make a successful impeachment. Here's the problem with that. The clock is ticking. 2020 is coming up, and really you're running out of time. So if you were going to impeach him, the time to do that was yesterday. The time to do it was a month ago, 2 months ago, when the Mueller report came out. And the more time you waste, the worse it's going to be, I think, strategically. So I think that it's a good time, really. This is not popular to say, especially to progressives, because they hate anything that seems too mealy-mouthed or wishy-washy or establishment. But Nancy Pelosi probably is smarter than the quote-unquote squad and these other people who are more passionate and more principled, but less, I think, less basically strategic in terms of how they approach the politics of this all. I think that Nancy Pelosi's strategy of don't impeach him, just keep dragging this shit out in front of the public so that it hurts his image and credibility, but if we impeach him, we run the risk of actually helping him and making him look like a victim and making some Americans feel bad for him. So I think that it's a gamble, but here's the problem, okay? If Trump wins in 2020, the statute of limitations, I think, are effectively going to run out on whatever crimes he's committed. And so he's going to get off scot-free if he committed any crimes, right? I think that really you probably could get him on obstruction. But the bottom line is, I think the statute of limitations, if I'm correct, are going to run out if he wins in 2020. If he doesn't win in 2020, they'll still be able to prosecute him, and I think that it's a good chance that he will have some charges coming his way if he doesn't win in 2020. So the real emphasis, I believe, should be on what's best for winning the election. And I'm not sure that impeachment is the best strategy for winning the election. I think that they might want to instead start gearing all their effort towards the 2020 campaign. It's a gamble, but it's a gamble either way. And I don't know, something just tells me that it's more risky at this point to try to impeach him. I know that doesn't sound very principled. I know people are like, "What? It's not about strategy. It's about what's right and what's wrong." I think about things much more pragmatically in terms of results, in terms of what you want to be accomplished. And if the end result of you doing the right thing is getting him reelected and allowing the statute of limitations to run out, and he never can possibly be charged with any crimes, I can't see how you would view that as justice. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward. But yeah, the Mueller report was a flop. Wasn't really much of anything to see there, in my opinion. Not the Mueller report, sorry. The Mueller testimony. I'm sorry. I haven't read the book either, because, come on, who has time for that shit?